Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to do more content on Thing because he's getting a uniform, so I want to do a bit of a snapshot before he gets it to see how much better the uniform makes him. And two, I honestly still think that he's an underrated character in Marvel Future Fight. Not an amazing character, just probably better than you might expect. Not really going to impress you for high-end content like high-level World Boss Ultimate or GBR or ABX scores, but I'm going to go into some lower-level World Boss Ultimate and some Shadowland, some fairly high-level Shadowland with a defensive build. I'm talking CTP of Refinement, and I'm talking 8 HP Uru, which is mostly on the defensive end. We do have maxed out cooldown and ignore defense, but otherwise it's pretty low. We got high recovery rate, and we're just missing the guard break immunity, so we can't bring him into PvP, and we probably wouldn't because I don't think he can do it yet. Maybe he will with his uniform, but we don't need super armor because he gets that from his passive. And the nice thing about his passive is you can even bring him into content without a leadership, or you can use his own leadership to double down. So you can get a 50% all defense, and you'll also still be getting a 40% all attack bonus. So it's kind of nice. He has two leaderships rolled into one, which means he has pretty extreme potential if he becomes very powerful, because you can see he's already got almost 24,000 physical attack, and that's not even putting him on a team. If I were to put Thing on a team, and let's say I just substitute him in here for this stage, you know, I'm not getting any bonuses besides the 3%, but you can see I've already jumped up past 24,000 because he's going to be getting that effect. And actually, you know what? I don't think the effect is applying right now. I think that 24,000 is just because of the team up bonus. I think the 40% will apply. Yeah, it's still 24,000. So you actually don't even see the 40% until you're in the game mode that you're playing. So he's actually got a lot higher physical attack than 24,000, which is already very high for a character that's level 62 with level 20 gears. But we're going to go ahead and bump him up now. He's only level 62, but I'm still in the top 500. We're now going to jump him up to level 70, and you can take a note at my gold. It's 281 million, and I've got 33,000 black antimatter. Let's get back into it after I've ripped all my resources. Yeah. Oh, very nice, very nice. So there we go. We got it with a spectacularly low number of resources. I'm quite happy about that. And clobbering time, very aptly named level 70 achievement for Thing. And now we are still ranked 482. It shouldn't really matter for our ranking, but now we can upgrade his gears as we please. So we only wasted about, yeah, we wasted a very low amount of resources there. We might actually end up wasting more in getting his gears up to 25 if we wanted to get them all the way up to 25 compared to actually getting him to level 70. I was very, very lucky on that, but we're not going to go to level 70 because that's insane. We're just going to go to level 22 on a couple of gears. Now let's see here, we're not maxed out anymore on cooldown or ignore defense, so I definitely need to pump this one up. The nice thing about this one is it's going to drop, it's going to give us an extra like 400 of the last stat there, the ignore defense, which is very, very nice, 405 points, which will absolutely put us over the top. And then we just need possibly one, no, we're gonna need 2 rolls on here. These are all pretty high. I mean, they're pretty low, like 7, 8, 9 rolls. A 1 or a 2 would be nice. 13 is obviously the opposite direction, it's double, but now with a couple of gears at 22, with a few gears, we're now back up to basically being capped 49.98. Now let's take them into some content. The first one I want to show you guys, which I think is pretty impressive, is a stage 59. That's right, 59 solo for Shadowland with without a leadership, of course, and also without the obelisk that has an obelisk that has a damage proc. We're just going to use a regular obelisk, or not regular obelisk. We're using a defensive CTP, a CTP of refinement, so it doesn't really matter. We are going to get the 3-member bonus, the 3% attack bonus, but that's you know, hardly anything. I don't know. I don't think Colossus strikes for Thing, but I don't think it matters. This is going to be a very close fight, don't get me wrong, but the really nice thing here is not only can he survive, but he can do enough damage to beat the stage, which I think is pretty surprising, again, considering that if you're going to be bringing in Thing, he's not going to be needing a leadership because he provides his own self-leadership, that 40% buff. And he's also quite tanky with the 50% all defense on top of a 50% all damage reduction that he has from his 4-star passive, on top of the fact that you're constantly stacking Fracture. We've got 8 stacks of Fracture right now, anywhere from 8 stacks to 10 stacks. So whenever Hawkeye actually hits you, Fracture lowers your damage. So he just hit me for 1,000. That was 800. The lasers do about as much damage right now as Hawkeye does, which is pretty sad that you're neutering almost a stage 60 boss fight because of how great the Fracture is. So it does have some value in PvE, and although I'm not getting hit very often because he's being guard broken, he's being stunned, I have immunity, it's nice to know that if I ever do make a mistake or for whatever reason there's lag or something, it's not going to matter. I am taking a little bit of damage from the lasers, but as you will remember, with the CTP of Refinement, there's pretty much it's very unlikely that he'll be able to kill me. And then the rotation is pretty straightforward. Now, there's different variations of the rotation if you want to just use 5, 4, and 3, because those are the skills that are going to give iframes, and those are the skills that are going to give the most damage and the immunity. 2 is also pretty nice. I think there's a short iframe right at the beginning of 2. Or no, there's not. There is an iframe when he jumps. No, just on 4. 4 is the only iframe. Yeah, so 4 and 5 are the only real iframes. There might have possibly been an iframe on 1 right at the beginning. Yeah, there's like a short blink. I might not actually finish this now that I take a look at the time, but that's okay because we're going to get very, very close, and I'm sure if I were to throw in Warwolf, I would be able to clear it. And again, this is with a defensive build, so for anybody out there who wants to build their thing offensively, you'll absolutely be able to clear this stage, although you might die. I got stunned for a really long time there while the lasers were up. That was just an unfortunate series of combined circumstances with Hawkeye hitting me while the lasers were up. But yeah, it's not going to happen again. But even if you have worse cards than me, because you can build him offensively as opposed to being defensively, you'll still be able to clear a stage, I would say at least into the 40s, possibly the 50s, just given the fact that he's so tanky on his own, but then he also brings his own leadership to further augment his damage from his tier 2 passive. So I think that's really nice. Honestly, I just really like Thing, and I think he's quite underrated as a character, and we're so close. We're actually really, really close. Less than 500,000 damage away, it's going to seem like at the end here. And I think absolutely with just a small bit of help, even if I had just brought along Daisy, and if I had passed her, I'd passed the buff through her, if I had brought along Warwolf, that would have been a much, much easier clear. But damn, stage 59 with no lead, pretty damn impressive for, again, a defensively built Thing with no uniform. He's got quite a bit of potential with his uniform coming. Now we're going to go, we have a max raid level, so keep that in mind. I'm level 499. And we're going to jump into, we're just going to do something pretty straightforward. We're going to do a stage 30 Proxima, because I think he can do this again quite handily. We're going to bring along one, actually. We're going to bring along one support here, and then the other character we'll just bring along Johnny. Johnny's not going to do much damage as an energy attacker, but I do think he has a team up that's going to give us, it just gives us some crit damage. It's actually not even that great, but we'll bring him along. We're not going to bring along strikers. We don't need the healing because we have the CTP of Refinement. I'm probably going to have to take the CTP of Refinement off of Thing when he gets his uniform, depending on how much better it makes him. I'm either going to go for regen to do PvP, or I'm going to go for possibly energy or rage for PvE. Now, and that's not going to be kind of like a long-term thing for him. It might just be for testing, but it'll still be cool to see how he does. And I don't think he can do stage 30 now that I'm looking at the damage. But possibly with strikers he can, which is a bit more disappointing than I imagined. I thought his damage was going to be better, but at least he's tanky enough that I don't need to worry about him dying, I think. But damn, that 5th skill damage, I really did expect it to be higher. Stage 30 is pretty low, and I think I tested him way back when. Maybe I was doing a stage 20. Maybe I was using strikers. But yeah, stage 30 with max raid level, I did expect, to be honest, I did expect more from him. It's that 5th skill, it just takes so long. Although it has good damage, it takes too long. That's pretty much the principal issue right now with Thing, that he doesn't have enough hits on his skills, even though he has high physical attack. There's not enough damage from the skills because there's not enough hits. So if they kind of doubled or tripled his hits, and they added in some cancelable skills where you can kind of stack the hits together without having to watch the entire animation of each skill, I think that could possibly make Thing, bigger threat for PvE, or if they just make some other tweaks to him, he could be a threat for PvP. In terms of what they could do for PvP to make him more of a threat, they could give him a heal, they could give him ignore iframe, they could give him some reflect. All of those things I think would be potentially good for him for PvP. I'm not exactly sure how they could make him good for PvP, but it basically just comes down to the animations of the skills at the end of the day, and that's why PvP is one of the more difficult things to predict, whereas PvE, you just need to hit a lot and you need to hit hard. That's pretty much all you need. But for PvP, even if you don't have iframes, like there are certain characters that don't have very many iframes, they only have like 1 or 2 iframes, but because of the way their skills are animated, they have guard break, immunity penetration, or they have like tons of cancelable hits, or they're just very hard to dodge in manual play even, like, you know, Jean Grey's first skill or something like that, her 4th skill. Those types of skills end up being very, very good for PvP, despite the fact that they might seem pretty vanilla and pretty boring on the outset. Usually long iframes are good for PvP besides against Captain Marvel, so perhaps if they just buff his damage and buff the number of hits, his 5th skill will be good, because once you catch someone in the 5th skill and you interrupt them, there's nothing they can do and they just have to sit there for the duration of the ability because they don't have iframe ignore, but they would have to, like, again, at least triple the number of hits in order for the damage to actually be reasonable enough to make it work in PvP. You know, because you can't really pull off the combo that you want more than a couple times and reasonably expect yourself to survive in between. He definitely has an uphill battle. I'm a bit disappointed in the damage. Thing definitely has an uphill battle to be relevant at all in PvP content because he's a combat type. There's basically no combat types at the top of PvP right now. I mean, Captain America is probably the closest, along with Wolverine, but neither of them can compare with, you know, Thanos, Jean Grey, Captain Marvel, etc. Even Doctor Strange. There's just too many powerful powerful blast types, and the speed types are not doing enough to counter them. That we would then need the, you know, counter to the counter in the form of combat types. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens to Mr. Fantastic. If you guys want to see a sort of snapshot of the other members of the Fantastic Four, hit me up, let me know. I personally really like Thing, and I don't mind investing in him, getting a top 300 Thing, because I do want to see him shine, and I'll polish him no matter what. I'll polish that rock. So yeah, hit me up in the comments, let me know what you want to see next. Subscribe if you enjoy the content and you want to support me, and of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.